A pipe network is a combination of pipes and structures that exist in a drawing. A pipe network can be displayed in any view, that is the plan, profile, or cross-section view. The pipes and structures are defined in the part catalog provided by Civil 3D, and to narrow down the entire part catalog, you define what's called a parts list so that you do not have to work with every part that's in the catalog. If we look here in my drawing, I already happen to have a pipe network created. So in the plan, I already have it labeled and everything. And if we look at the profile, I also have that same exact pipe network displayed in a profile, and it has its own alignment that better shows the pipe network system. There are many settings and styles you must define or at least be aware of in Civil 3D when it comes to pipe networks. If I go to the Settings tab and we look at the different categories, we have a pipe network category, which is where your parts list is defined. And then you have individual locations for the pipe objects as well as the structure objects. So as you can see, you have pipe and structure styles, and you have pipe and structure rule sets, and pipe and structure labels and tables, and so on. So what is a parts list? So a parts list, if we look at this one real quickly, I'll right-click on it and go to Edit. A parts list looks at the Civil 3D catalog and pulls out from it what you want to use and see in the parts list. So the part catalog has many pipes and structures in it, and then the parts list just pulls out from it what you want to, let's say, shop for and actually use for this type of network part list. In this case, it's a storm sewer. So you'll see here you have pipes and structures tabs that allow you to pick and choose the different parts you want to be able to see and use within that specific type of pipe network. Pipe and structure rules control how pipes and structures are placed on the assigned surface. So as you drape a pipe network across a surface, it will use these specific rules to define the elevations for the pipe invert elevations. These rules are automatically applied to those specific parts as you place it across the surface. That said, you will most probably use Autodesk Storm and Sanitary Analysis for your real drainage design and then bring those files into Civil 3D that will already have the correct rim elevations as well as the invert elevations for all the pipe objects. Labeling is also an automatic thing with pipe networks. If you change any aspect or any part of a Civil 3D object, as you would expect to, it will update and move the labels automatically, which again is really helpful. Again, just to reiterate, the main functionality of pipe network objects within Civil 3D is strictly for plan, profile, and cross-section view automation. There's no analysis done within this file. You would use Autodesk Storm and Sanitary Analysis for that kind of design. To apply a part catalog to your session of AutoCAD Civil 3D, go to the Create Design panel in the More Tools option, and here's where you can actually go to Set the Pipe Network Catalog. If I click on this, note that Civil 3D does come with imperial and metric pipe catalogs. This concludes this video discussing an overview of pipe networks. When configuring a pipe network, there are many settings and styles that you must take into consideration. Before developing pipe networks, we need to look at pipe structure, styles, and rules. So let's go ahead and just expand the pipe category, and we'll just look at one pipe style. And the whole purpose of the pipe style, if I double click this, is to basically tell Civil 3D how it should display and what it should display in each of the different views. Again, as mentioned in the overview video, the purpose of pipe networks in Civil 3D is purely for a display aspect. You do not do any of your drainage or storm sanitary design within Civil 3D. So we have the Plan tab for plan-specific graphics, Profile tab, and Section tab. And then the Display tab is used to define what layer and what components should be turned on in the different views: Plan, Model, Profile, and Section. The same types of styles are also defined in the Structure. So we'll go and look at one of the structures here, let's say a catch basin. And notice how the tabs are very similar. So when your view is a 3D orientation, you can actually use the 3D part to show the actual model. Because remember, Civil 3D pipe network objects are actually parametric models. If I go to the plan, you can have it display as a block, as you can see here, or you could actually use the outer part boundary if you wanted to. This is useful for objects that you want to use the outline for that aren't standard blocks or circles. Profile, this displays the model's boundary. Section, And then the display tab, again, to define in what view direction, plan, model, profile, or section, what objects or subcomponents should go on what layers. There's also something called rules. And what pipe and structure rules are for is they control how the pipes and structures are placed on the assigned surface. As pipes and structures are added to the model, the rules are applied and automatically placed based on the rules associated to their specific part. Again, you will most probably use Autodesk Storm and Sanitary Analysis for your design and then bring the data into Civil 3D. But let's look at some of the rules that you can define. So I just have a basic rule set here. And within the Rules tab, you can define specific rules, cover and slope, length check, etc. To add a rule, simply click on the Add Rule option here, and then you select the rule name. So if let's say we wanted a pipe-to-pipe match as far as a drop value, you can't edit it here, but as soon as you click OK, you can then edit it within this dialog box. You can also move rules up and down based on priority if you'd like to. And of course, you can delete rules to remove them. Again, this will just get the pipe network placed generally, and then you would use Storm and Sanitary Analysis for your actual invert locations and rim elevations. There are also rules available for structures. I'll double-click Basic, and if we go to the rules, you have rules like pipe drop across structure, maximum pipe size check, and again, if you want to add a rule, simply click on the Add Rule. You can even set a sump depth if you'd like to. So how does Civil 3D bring all this together? It brings all these together in what's called pipe networks. And then within the pipe networks, you can define a parts list. Again, as far as the actual catalog itself, if you go to the Create Design panel, Set Pipe Network Catalog, this is where you tell AutoCAD Civil 3D where to point to the actual catalog, which is actually a folder full of DWG and XML files that define what the parts are. Then you create a parts list that will, think of it as a store, to only select the specific pipe network objects that you might want to select pertaining to a specific kind of pipe network. Let's go ahead and look at the storm sewer one. I'll simply double click here. And then within a network part list, you will have 4 tabs. Information, which is just the name, pipes, structures, and then a summary tab. So of course the pipes tab is where you add in pipes. Well, right now all we have is concrete pipes. And if you look here, this is actually giving it the name of the pipe, as well as what style to use, what rules, render material for any kind of rendering, as well as a pay item that you may want to associate to the actual pipe that will automate quantities for you. If I want to add anything, when in doubt, right-click. So on the storm sewer category, I'll right-click and add a part family. Let's say I want to add in an HDPE pipe. So I'll just click on HDPE pipe. And then notice as you click on these, you will actually see a 3D graphic of the actual pipe. I'll click OK. And then notice how there's no sizes added. So you have to, again, right-click on here and click Add Part Size. And then if let's say I want to add all the sizes, I'll just simply add all the sizes. One thing I want to point out is do not be thrown by the fact that there's a hazing coefficient, Manning coefficient, etc. This is simply for labeling. All right, so you can actually put this value in the label. The pipe objects and the structure objects do not use these in any way, shape, or form. I'll click OK, and now I have all the HDPE pipes in this pipe network to select from. Well, let's say as per our design for storm sewer, we're never going to have anything above 24 inches. I can select here, hold the Shift key down, and then simply right-click and delete. And those are now removed from the HDPE pipe section. I can also click in here, and if let's say I want to have this as my description, I can do so as well. So I'm just going in here and putting 3-inch HDPE. I would do the same thing for the rest of these. As you can see, it does take a little bit of time, but once it's set up, then it's done for you. You can also select above here to globally change any of the styles, rules, render, or pay item. So if let's say I wanted to change the render material to a concrete type material, I can click up here, select this from the drawing, and this has to be placed in the drawing as a material. And just like that, I now have applied that. Structures work in a very similar fashion. So I can just right-click on here and click Add Part Family. Let's say we want to add in a concrete rectangular winged head wall. I'll toggle this on, click OK, and then I'm going to right-click on that part and click Add Part Size. Notice how you can select in here and actually choose from the different part sizes. So if let's say I wanted to just add in specific ones, I would simply navigate to the specific size that I want to add, click OK, and then I have that specific size. If I want to add another one, I can simply right click on this and choose Add Part Size again, and let's choose a different size, like so. And now you have another size. Again, if you want to actually change the way this looks, you can change this here. So let's say for this head wall, I want this to be a head wall style. So right now it's defined as sanitary sewer manhole, and I'll pick head wall, which will actually show the outline of the model itself. Render material will do the same thing here. We'll change this to concrete, cast in place, click OK. And if I had a pay item, and as long as I have a pay item file associated to my drawing, I could pick here and then actually choose the pay item and it would automatically grab it, which again is pretty cool automation. Click OK. You now have completed your initial setup to creating a parts list that you will then use to create your pipe network objects. Civil 3D provides tools to creating pipe networks from existing AutoCAD objects. Let's go ahead and examine this functionality. In the Home tab, Create Design panel, under the Pipe Network dropdown, we have Create Pipe Network from Object. With this command here, you can use lines, arcs, polylines, or feature lines to generate a pipe network object. I'll go ahead and select the tool, and notice the command line window, it says Select Object. Now I have an existing polyline in the drawing that is, let's say, the existing storm sewer graphic. It's simply a 2D polyline with its elevations set to 0. So what I'm going to do is select the polyline, and depending on which location you select, in other words, if I were to select it from this end, the flow direction will go that way. If I went to the other side of the polyline, the flow direction would come this way. You can always reverse it by clicking on reverse, but since the flow direction is good, we'll click OK. Then you're prompted to create the pipe network from object with a bunch of settings and options. So first, we'll call this one Existing Storm Sewer. Then I already have a network part list that happens to be existing, so I can use that one, which will automate the display of all the pipe network objects. I have a few existing RCP pipes in there, and I'll just use the default one. You can always change them afterwards. As far as the structure goes, I'll use the default one here for an existing drainage manhole, as I have the majority of those. And what you definitely want to do, so that you can turn on, off, and freeze and thaw this specific Civil 3D object, you want to go in and set the layers appropriately. So all I'm going to do here is use the default layer and just tack on a -EX for the modifier value. I'll click OK for the pipe in plan. We'll do the same thing for the structure in plan. And for the profile, we'll do that as well. And then for the section. Then I need to define what surface these pipe network objects should be draped along. So I already have a combined existing ground. And if I want to do any kind of notation based off of an alignment, which I will eventually, I'm going to set this to the existing alignment. You can erase the existing entity. I'll leave this toggled off for now. But here's a really cool thing. If you happen to have a 3D polyline or a 3D feature line where the invert elevations are correct, you can actually use vertex elevations and then define where that elevation should occur. We'll toggle that off as I just have a 2D polyline. I'll click OK. And then just like that, we have our pipe network objects. Notice how the style is showing an existing type style because the pipe network's part list is defined to do so. If you'd like to see a profile view of your pipe network, you can easily do so by clicking on the Alignment dropdown and then selecting Create Alignment from Network Parts. It's asking you then to define a first connected network part. So I'll start from the beginning. And then it's asking you to do the next network part, which means go to the end or wherever you want this alignment to actually end. Notice how it selects all the network parts in between. I'll press Enter. I'll go with the name that I have here, so ALG-pipe network name. It is a miscellaneous type alignment. We can use a style if you'd like to. If you want to label this, you can set it to all labels, or you can just say major and minor only, or if you don't want to label this at all, just say no labels. And if you want to create a profile and profile view, toggle this on. I'll click OK. And then what I want to do is actually select the combined EG, and we'll add that as a profile for this profile view. And then we'll click on Draw on Profile View. And I already have a predefined profile view style, which will actually make it look a little better for pipe networks. Just click Create Profile View, and this profile goes from right to left. So I'm going to go over here to the right side of my alignment and then select it. I now have a nice profile view and alignment of the pipe network object. As far as the true invert elevations for the pipe network objects and the structures, we will discuss how to change these in the Editing Pipe Networks video. This concludes this video discussing creating a pipe network from objects. Civil 3D provides tools for creating pipe networks by laying them out with pipe network layout tools. Let's examine how to do this based on some station offset values that we were given by the engineer. We'll zoom into our project, and then from the Create Design panel in the Pipe Network dropdown, we have the Pipe Network Creation tools. First, we'll give this a name, so we'll call this one Storm-1. The parts list that we want to select is Storm Sewer Pipe Networks list, and setting the layers is very important. This way, as you create pipes and structures, you can freeze these on the layers that are placed here. So we'll just use the suffix operation, and we'll just call this -P for proposed. Do this for the structure, and then any profile, and the structure profile. And lastly, we'll do -P for the cross sections. Click OK, and then click OK. For the surface name, we have a finished grade surface, and for the alignment, this will be our proposed alignment, which is bypass 1. We will not do labels as of right now, as it does take a little bit of extra time and can slow the drawing down to place the labels as you're placing the pipe network objects. Click OK, and you are now prompted with the Network Layout tools. So first, let's go ahead and just look at the tools available here. This button here allows you to set the pipe network properties. These are the settings that we just defined previously. You can also define the surface to lay out your pipe networks, the alignment, and then the parts list right here. So these two drop-downs contain the structures that are in the parts list and the pipes that are in the parts list. So for the first one, what we want to do is define this rectangular structure, and we'll actually pick the 3-foot catch basin. Then for the pipe, we want to select an 18-inch pipe. And then you'll notice before we actually define the placement of pipes, structures, or both, you want to make sure you toggle the upslope and downslope properly. And that's what this does here. This tool here will delete pipe network objects once they are placed. So picking the dropdown, note that you can do pipes and structures only, but in this case we have the station offsets for each of our individual structures, and we want to do the pipes and structures command. So before we begin, we actually have the station offsets, so I'm going to use the transparent commands. Again, if you prefer to use the toolbar, if you go to the View tab, use your interface panel, toolbars, you can pick the Civil transparent commands. I'm going to just type it in by typing 'SO, press enter, and then looking at the command line window, it's asking us to select the alignment, so note that you can pick any of the labels as well as the alignment. It'll automatically select the alignment. And for the station, for this first one, we want to type in 1025 for our station. And this is on the right side, so we need to define the positive offset of 12 feet. And we're just going to pan across our alignment as we place this. As it continues along here, you'll notice that it stays in the station offset transparent command so that we can just keep typing in these stations and offsets. So this will be 1162, enter, and then 24 for an offset. So as we're creating our pipe network, you can change this on the fly. I want to change this to a 21-inch RCP, and instead of the catch basin, we need a drainage manhole. So this will be a 4-foot drainage manhole. We'll just pick that one instead. And we'll type this at 1300, and the station offset is at 0, so it's actually at the center line of the road. And notice how it automatically updates and displays the appropriate block or object based on the style that is defined for those parts. Now we want to change this back to a 4-foot catch basin and go to an 18-inch RCP, and we'll type in 14 1455, enter, at an offset of 24, enter. And now we want to go to the opposite side of the road, so we'll type in 1455, enter, and then a negative 44, and then enter. Now we have a wing wall that will tie and drain out our pipe network. And so we want to select the concrete rectangular wing wall and pick the 54 by 12 by 83 winged wall. And for this one here, we'll select 24-inch RCP, and the station offset is 1455, negative 100. Press enter. Notice how it automatically shows the correct display of that structure because the style is telling it to do so. We have completed our pipe network, so we can actually press escape a couple times to end that. So where do the pipe networks exist in the Prospector tab? So Prospector tab, and then we have Pipe Networks category, Networks collection, and notice how we already have an existing storm sewer in here, and we have the proposed storm sewer. So I can select any of the individual categories to see the different pipes and structure objects within the drawing. So let's go ahead and actually take these pipe network objects into the object viewer and view them in 3D. I'll go ahead and select one, right-click Select Similar. Notice how it only selects these pipe network objects and not the existing pipe network objects. That is because we defined the layer appropriately before placing them. I'll select one of these structures and right-click Select Similar, and notice how it selects all the structure objects except for the ones that are in the existing. And just to make sure we get the wing wall, we'll go ahead and pick the wing wall here as well. Right-click after you're done with your selection set and choose Object Viewer. And notice we have our pipe network. And notice the 3D modeling that is happening here because of all of the automation that is controlled by the pipe styles. Let's say we want to create an alignment and profile from this network. And we also want to add this pipe network to our other profile as well. So to create the alignment from the pipe network and the profile, let's go to the Alignment dropdown, create alignment from network parts. It's asking us to define a beginning for the pipe network. So let's go ahead and zoom into the first catch basin at 10 plus 25. And then we'll define the last structure that we want to use, which is the wing wall. Press enter. And then we have the alignment name. We'll go with the default settings. It is a miscellaneous alignment because it's not going to be used anywhere else in design. We can use a proposed style or the layout, but we'll just keep it as proposed. And then as far as the labels, we'll actually set this to no labels because we don't need to see the labels. And then we also want to create a profile and a profile view. We'll click OK. And then as far as the surface is concerned, we want to show the finished grade as our surface. We'll add that in there. And now we have finished grade profile created under this alignment. Let's go ahead and draw this in the profile view. And we already have a predefined profile view style that we created for pipe network specifically. We'll click next and next just to verify all the different settings here. And in the profile display option, let's scroll to the right here and make sure that no labels are being placed because right now we have a complete label set. We'll click on this, make sure the label set's set to no labels. Click OK. Click next. And this is what tells Civil 3D to display which structures and pipe objects in the profile. Click next. And for a data band, let's go ahead and put in some pipe data. And so notice how we can grab the pipe data, invert elevations, and so on, if you want to, and change the source that this all comes from. So I'll change this to Storm 1 for each of these here. And there's Profile 1 and Profile 2. We'll just leave them as is. Click Next. We don't have any hatching, so just click on Create Profile View. And for this profile view, it actually does go from right to left. So we'll go ahead and pick this point right here. And just like that, we now have all the data with all the different rim and invert elevations in our bands. If you'd like to actually view this a little bit beyond here as it's right near the edge, what we can do is actually extend the alignment. Because remember, it's just an alignment and the profile is a child of the alignment. So if we extend this alignment, it'll automatically update. I'll select my alignment and then just pick the alignment object. We'll turn on OSnap and we'll just use the extension OSnap to extend it that way. And we'll do the same thing for this one here. So I'll pick this, and we can just simply extend this using the extension OSnap. Press Escape to clear my selection set. And now we can view the profile and show some additional ground data. Let's say we want to add the pipe network to the other profile that, let's say, will be our proposed profile we actually plot from. To add any kind of pipe network objects to your profile, we can simply select one of the structure objects or the pipe network object and click on Draw Parts in Profile. And then we can select Draw in Profile View and pick the profile view for it to appear in. I can also select Similar here and do the same thing for all of these if I want to do this globally. So I'll go ahead and pick one of these pipe objects, select Similar, and we'll make sure that we get the rest of these structures. And notice how the ribbon stays contextual, and I can click on the Draw Parts in Profile. And just like that, when I go ahead and click on this, it automatically will add the pipe network objects. Note that if I decide to delete one of the pipe network objects from the profile view, it will not delete the actual pipe network object. All it does is it simply deletes it from the view of the profile view. This concludes this video discussing laying out a pipe network.